Home prices are falling nationally, inventory is climbing, spring sales just hit a 6 month low. But here in Southwest Florida, things look a little different. A $133 million beachfront estate just sold in Naples. Condo sellers just got huge relief from a new law, and record breaking tourism may keep demand alive longer than people think. Stick around to find out how all this ties into what's happening right now in Southwest Florida's housing market. Let's get started. So this first article comes from Redfin. Spring home buying season sputters as supply jumps to a 5-year high. Existing home sales drop to a 6 month low. So this should be no surprise to anybody who's been paying attention to the Florida market. What's really interesting about some of this data coming from Redfin, though, about the Florida housing market is when we get into these stats, some of the interesting stats here. Fort Lauderdale is actually the median sales price is actually up 2.3% despite the new listings and closed sales both being down. And then we also have the amount of new listings coming on is declining in that market as well. And then Jacksonville down 3.4%. New listings coming on are also down. So despite new listings coming on being down, prices are still going down in Jacksonville. We get to Miami, we see prices went up 6.3% and inventory is increasing 2.8%. And then we have down here in Tampa, which is one of our closer metros, the median sales price is down 1.3% and inventory is pretty stagnant. So we see some interesting contrasts here in the data between the markets, Jacksonville, Tampa, Miami, Fort Lauderdale. Each one of them is a little bit different. And that's why it's really important to get with somebody who's really targeting your market and getting the stats for you directly. Because as you can see, despite prices going up in some places, inventory is declining in some places, and then you have a mix of both in between. Next story, most expensive home sales of April. 3 out of the 10 were in Naples. So that gives you an idea of what's going on in our market specifically. Collier County, which is the Naples and Marco Island area, had 3 out of the 10 top most expensive home sales for the month of April. The number one spot being taken at $133 million. Number 6 came in at 46.9, and then number 9 came in at 44.9, and those are the addresses. But they're all right on Gordon Drive in Naples. Despite the headlines really showing that closed sales are down, pending sales are down, which is true, but when you compare it back to pre shutdown, that data we're still looking at, we're very close to the same, and we'll go into some of those charts in a little bit. But the market is actually pretty steady and pretty normalized for the most part, other than what we've been comparing to when we were at our peaks and highs in 2021, 2022. And here's the next story. This comes right from Florida Realtors Association. Florida hits a new tourism record in 2024. We saw 143 million visitors. That's an increase of 1.7%, which is not a small number. Even though 1.7% doesn't sound like a lot, over 2023, that's a huge increase, especially when we're talking about 143 million people. In just this first quarter in 2025, we've already welcomed 41.2 million visitors. So Florida's tourism industry is leading the nation right now. And also from the Florida Association of Realtors, some relief for those of you who are looking to purchase a condo or have been considering it in Florida. We have some relief coming through this new law that will take effect July 1st. I'm sure many of you have heard about the structural integrity studies that needed to happen for any of those condo buildings that were over 3 stories due to what happened in Miami and that huge collapse that happened. Because there was a deadline of all those studies needing to be completed by the end of 2024, a lot of HOAs were rushing assessments. So they were really throwing huge assessments at a lot of these condo owners, which one put pressure on them for affording, some of these places were looking at $50,000 assessments. And that's something that they weren't expecting, obviously, and the reserves weren't going to be able to cover. So some of these people were getting hit with extremely high fees. And now that this new law has gone into effect on July 1st, or is going into effect on July 1st, that's going to push out the studies. They're going to give it another year for the studies to be conducted and finished. And then it's also going to put a temporary pause right down here in the reserve funding for 2 years immediately following a milestone inspection. So they're not going to need to have those reserves funded fully for another 2 years after they get that study done, which is going to help alleviate some stress. It's going to help lower some costs. And also, if you're buying or selling, you might not have to worry about as large of assessments coming up or coming due anytime soon. So now, where are we at for our local market stats? We're going to start off with Lee County, which is Fort Myers, Cape Coral area. It also covers Lehigh, Alva, Buckingham, North Fort Myers, Estero, and Bonita Springs. So those cities is what this is covering. And we are looking at just the single family home data, which is a pretty accurate data point. Even if we added in townhomes and condos, the numbers might move a little bit, but the overall ratios would stay the same. So right now we're looking at 374,000 for the median sales price right now for single family homes in Lee County. And that's down 3.9% from last week. As you can see though, the trend has been down, but more recently the highs and lows have really started to even out a little bit. We're seeing a little bit of a low point right here because we're still comparing data that's still coming in. We're only a few days into the week, so we're probably going to see this number come back up after a few more home sales. And I think we're starting to see a leveling out of prices, but we'll know in the next coming weeks whether the trend is still down or we're starting to find that bottom. Closed sales, this is a lagging indicator. It tells what was going on 30 to 45 days ago in the market when homes were going under contract. Now that those homes have sold, where are we at? So we're at 277, which is actually up 7.4% from last week. Again, we still have a few more days left in the week, so that number will probably go back up. But you can see the trend here has been increasing slightly, but this is also starting to level out, and we're starting to see a little bit more homeostasis in the closed sales department as well. New listings is our leading indicator for sellers. It tells you how many homes have gone on the market over the last 7 days this week. You can see the overall trend from January has been down. So less and less new homes are coming on the market. We're at 486. That's up 3.2% from last week. But again, overall trend down. And then we have new pending sales as the leading indicator for buyers because this tells you how many people are putting homes under contract every 7 days. Right now we're at 388. And again, we had a little bit of a leveling off from the beginning of the year into mid-April, but now we've seen everything start to pick up, which is surprising because season is now over. Usually we see the most uptick during season and then things cool down a little bit afterwards. Like I said, we've been talking about a potential bottom here in Southwest Florida and things starting to pick back up a little bit, which it looks like they are. 388 this week, that's up 9% from last week. And again, we're only a few days in, so we still have some more numbers to come in next week. I'm guessing we will see this number come in higher. And then as we've been talking for the last few weeks, active inventory is at 8877. That's down 1.7% again from last week. We might see this tick up a little bit more, but overall, the trend has been down for over a month now. And I'm going to guess we're going to continue seeing that with everything kind of slowing down, both on the buyer side and the seller side. Now we're going to switch over to Collier County, which is the Naples market, also includes Marco Island. Median sales price for this area, as you can see, is a different market, $799. That's up 6.6% from last week. We'll probably see some more closed sales coming in that might bring this back up, but the overall trend has been down for a while in Naples, and it looks like it's still going down. We're not really finding a bottom with those numbers yet. Closed sales over the last 2 months, we've started to see things level out. This is up 3.4% from last week, but overall the trend has been steady. New listings in Naples follows a very similar pattern to Lee County, Fort Myers area. It is downward. Less and less listings are coming on the market every week. It is up 6.1% from last week, but overall trend again is down. New pending sales. So this has been a little bit of an interesting one. We saw it starting to increase from the beginning of the year. Things have really started to level out here, and it looks like we're starting to hit our peaks and troughs are pretty much the same each week now. Similar to the Lee County market, active inventory has continued to decline as well in Naples area, 3389. That's down 1.5% from last week. If you have any questions about the market or a specific neighborhood, I'm always happy to help. Just drop a comment below or reach out directly. My contact information is in the description below. And if you're thinking of buying in Southwest Florida, you'll find some free guides and resources also down there in the description. So these aren't just cookie cutter downloads. They're handcrafted from years of local experience and actual transactions, not something you're going to find on Google or those big box brokerage sites. I hope to see you in the next video, but until then, stay safe, stay positive, and more importantly, stay free.